We have gathered, once again, gathered for worship. Wherever we are, wherever we are, we have gathered. Grateful to be able to be together in this season of Thanksgiving. In the midst of national turmoil and challenge, even so, we have gathered. In the midst of whatever personal challenges or sorrow, we have gathered, and we are grateful for this time we share. Grateful for the comfort it offers, for the peace of this time together, for whatever inspiration we might receive. We have gathered for worship, and it is good. Our introit this morning will be sung by Chris Marr, and then that will be followed by Ralph Brown, who will light our chalice.
May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
We light our chalice as a symbol of gratitude as we celebrate the abundance of our lives together. In this sanctuary, we harvest bushels of strength for one another and offer our crop with the hands of compassion and generosity. In the authentic and gentle manner of our connections, we cultivate a simple sweetness to brighten our spirits. May we be grateful for the ways we nourish and uplift each other, for it is the sharing of this hallowed time together that sustains us.
Thank you, Ralph. Beautiful reminders. Thank you very much. We sing now together. That is our hymn, number 67. If you have a hymn book or if you downloaded the program, the tune is familiar as a traditional We Gather Together. The words are a little bit different for our Unitarian Universalist hymn book. We sing now together, number 67.
We sing now together a song of thanksgiving, rejoicing in goods which the ages have
Thank you, Christopher, and thanks to everyone who sang along. We have a responsive reading this morning. The response is quite simple, so you don't need a hymn book. Your response is simply, "We give thanks." This from my colleague and friend, Richard Fuchs, Dick Fuchs. For the sun and the dawn, which we did not create, we give thanks. For the moon and the evening, which we did not make, we give thanks. For food which we plant but cannot grow, we give thanks. For friends and loved ones we have not earned and cannot buy, we give thanks. For this gathered company, which welcomes us as we are from wherever we have come and wherever we are, we give thanks. For all our free churches that keep us human and encourage us in our quest for beauty, truth, and love, we give thanks. For all things which come to us as gifts of being from sources beyond ourselves, we give thanks. Gifts of life and love and friendship. We lift up our hearts in thanks this day. Yes, for all this, we give thanks. Welcome. Time for announcements and another welcome. Good to see you all once again. Welcome. Most of you, I hope, receive our weekly update and Sunday reminders with announcements and so on. I will just mention two things. Today is the second to last day of our wreath sale across the street by the parish house. In fact, I believe it's going on right now. They might be zooming into the service as they sell wreaths. Our remarkable wreath leader, Pat Bianco, along with Diane Jordan and Diane Elliott, have been crafting these wreaths all this past week and have been selling them. And I'm guessing there are still wreaths that you can come by today or tomorrow during the daytime. And if you come today to get your wreath, you can also help out with raking. As most of you know, today, the Sunday before Thanksgiving, is ordinarily our community day. We have pizza. We have a variety of work day opportunities. We can't share pizza, but we can if it feels safe to you and you have a rake of your own to bring and maybe a tarp. You can come and help to rake some of the leaves from the front and around the parish house and even on this side of the street if we have time. So it begins at noon, but extends through the afternoon whenever you're able to join us if you can. Well, here end I guess one other announcement. We have our Thanksgiving Eve service that is shared by Hingham Hall religious leaders, and we're all invited to that. We'll be hosting it from here with speakers from a variety of faith communities, as always, and that is Wednesday evening at 7 o'clock. We'll be sending the Zoom link this in our regular Tuesday weekly update. So I hope you can all attend that service. I am pleased to introduce Chloe Brede, our Director of Religious Education, for our Time for All Ages. Chloe.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you this morning. I'm going to start with a story this morning, and then we will go and talk about it a little bit. So this is a cute story I wanted to share with you. It's called Thankful. The waitress is thankful for comfortable shoes. The local reporter for interesting news. The gardener's thankful for every green sprout. The fireman for putting the fire out. The poet is thankful for words that rhyme. The children for morning story time. The artist is thankful for color and light. The clown for her costume, silly and bright. The doctor is thankful when patients get well. The traveler for a cozy hotel. The dancer is thankful she loves the beat that stirs her heart and hips and feet. The chef is thankful for plates licked clean, the tailor for her sewing machine. The queen is thankful for afternoon tea. The beekeeper for the honey bee. The mayor is thankful for every vote. The sailor for his sturdy boat. The birder is thankful to list a new bird. The pastor is thankful for God's loving word. And perhaps in our case, we might say for many loving words. The crafter is thankful for glitter and glue. And me, I'm ever so thankful for you. So today in our, what I affectionately call our Littles time, or our Littles story time, which is at 9:30 every Sunday morning, and it's hosted by Deb Squires-Lee. We named together things that we were grateful for. So each of the kids went around and named things they were grateful for. And we heard stuff like, for my dog sleeping in my bed, for my house, for my family. For my job, somebody said, because they love their job. So lots and lots of gratitudes. So Ken and I, since the service, the theme today is gratitude, wanted to invite you now to put in the chat, to put it in writing, something that you're grateful for today. And I really invite things big and small and creative, maybe even something that'll help us get to know you. So we'd love to just hear what you're grateful for today. So we'll just take a moment to do that. And maybe I'll name a couple of them too, because I love hearing it. So we have, adult children nearby. We have clean running water. We have Zoom. I'm grateful for Zoom too. Health and family, friends and community, for the old ship community, for sure. For health, yes, that's a big one right now. Loving friends and family. Thankful for my husband who went grocery shopping this morning. It's good to eat. It's good to eat. Music, arts and musicians. Yes, I love art right now. The garden that's growing as food. Joy from a granddaughter, grandsons. The sky at dusk, beauty of the seasons. There's many, many, many more of them. I'm gonna let Ken go ahead and play, but you all can continue to share your gratitudes and we'll keep looking at them and enjoying them. Feel free to sprinkle them throughout the service.
Yeah, I'm just going to play a little bit more before we go to joys and sorrows so that you can continue to write in the chat a few things that you're grateful for. Studies, actual scientific studies suggest that writing down your gratitude list, actually writing it down or typing it, has an effect on our spiritual and physical well-being. Our physical well-being, that just thinking about our gratitude doesn't quite do. That's good too. But there's something about the kinesthetic writing. So I'll play another moment as you add and watch what other folks are grateful for. And certainly throughout the service, if you'd like to add and write down for all of us, write down for yourself something you're grateful for. That's, of course, encouraged and invited. We move now to our time, and thank you, Chloe, for the delightful story and the invitation. We move now to our time of candles of joy, sorrow, and concern. A number of you this week have asked that I light specific candles, and as always, we're invited to add to that list again on chat now and throughout the service if you like. But the ones who that have been sent to me. Louise Smith says, please light a candle of gratitude and hope for the artists whose creativity and commitment are enabling them to continue performing and exhibiting their arts throughout the pandemic. From Mary Thomas, a candle of joy for Susanna Thomas's and Dan Scully's marriage, the wedding ceremony this Friday, November 27th. She says, may love embrace them throughout their years together. We share that. From Lorraine Varney Riggs, she says, please light a candle of joy for the 1-year anniversary today of my granddaughters Evelyn and Julia's official adoption into our family, Lorraine says. We share that joy, and thank you for sharing it with us. Diane Jordan asked for a candle of gratitude for Pat Bianco, who we've already mentioned. Diane says she has been so uplifting for me and for Old Chip during this week of wreath making and selling. Her humor and unstoppable energy in that cold garage, it's where they're making the wreaths, has warmed my heart and brought out much needed holiday spirit. And this candle from Marsha Bokey for Susan Kane's healing from recent knee replacement surgery. We extend our healing thoughts and prayers. And they both would like the candle to be also a candle of thanksgiving for the recent safe return of Susan's son, Ian, from his year-long duty as United Nations peacekeeper in Mali, Africa. And we are grateful for his good work and for his return. And finally, this from Peter Lochtefeld and Sanchez Uman Lochtefeld. They say, we want to share a joy. Our gratitude, they say that Sam, their son Sam, who we all know, was granted early acceptance into Tufts Medical School. Congratulations, and we wish you well, Sammy. Candles that I will light also burn for any joys, sorrows, or concerns, unspoken, yet deeply felt, and for all those that have been typed into our chat. We're invited now to a time of meditation, prayer, and silence. Thanksgiving. Something in our hearts there is that yearns to speak gratitude for the gifts of life, for food on the table and a roof overhead for those of us who are fortunate enough, for blue skies and gray, for sunlight and rain, for friends who listen, neighbors who help, love overflowing, whether in the midst of joy or sorrow, for quiet moments alone, and for excitement, passion, action, for tasks to do that fit our hands and hearts and minds, for ideas and music that inspires, and principles that guide, for the knowledge that we are connected with one another and with all life. For all this and more, may we lift up grateful hearts, even in the midst of whatever else life has brought to us this season. As we pray to the God of our hearts, pray for one another, pray for those who do not have enough food to eat or adequate shelter. Pray for those caught in the midst of war and violence. Pray for our nation and for all our siblings on this earth we share. As we pause in the silence, grateful for this shared time of renewal, meditation, and prayer as we pause. Our anthem will be shared by Katie Weintraub. Come and find the quiet center with Katie.
Come and find the quiet center in the crowded life we lead. Find the room for hope to enter. Find the frame where we are freed. Clear the chaos and the clutter. Clear our eyes that we can see all the things that really matter. Be at peace and simply be. In the spirit, let us travel, open to each other's pain. Let our loves and fears unravel, celebrate the space we gain. There's a place for deepest dreaming, there's a time for heart to care. In the spirit's lively scheming, there is always room to spare. Clear the chaos and the clutter, clear our eyes that we can see all the things that really matter. Be at peace and simply be.
Oh, just lovely, Katie. Thanks to Katie. Beautiful. We have two readings this morning, and the first I will share. It's important, I would say essential, that at the time of Thanksgiving especially, but always, we remember whose land this was, who lived on this land where this meeting house was built, where we all live before the settlers settled in this world, which may have been new to them, but was certainly not a new world. We honor the local Wampanoag, the Massachusetts, and the many other native nations of our region of this continent. And with our first reading, we honor the Mashpee Wampanoag, especially with this from John Peters, who in his world is known as Slow Turtle, was known. He lived from 1930 to 2013. He was the supreme medicine man of the Wampanoag Nation. Great Spirit, I thank you today. Mother Earth, I thank you. Grandmother Moon, I thank you. Grandfather Sun, I thank you. I offer thanks to the four directions, to the east, to the south, to the west, to the north. I thank you for all my relations, the winged nation, creeping and crawling nation, the four-legged nation, the green and growing nation, and all things living in the water. Honoring the clans, the deer, the bear, the wolf, the turtle, the snipe. Great Spirit, I thank you on this day. Here ends our first reading. Second reading will be shared by Roy Harris. Roy.
Suddenly, everything is simple. We can drop all the big, cumbersome terms. Gratefulness says it all. And gratefulness is something all of us know from experience. Can the spiritual life be that simple? Yes, what we secretly hoped is true. It is all that simple. It is this very simplicity, in fact, that we find most difficult. But why not drop the complications we put in our own way? What brings fulfillment is great fullness, the simple response of our heart to this given life in all its fullness. Here ends the reading, which is from the book Gratefulness, the Heart of Prayer by Brother David Steindl-Rast.
Thank you, Roy. Beautifully shared. Come to our time of offering. As you know, we can't literally pass the plate here in the meeting house, but we are invited to contribute to our plate, to the ongoing work of our ministries, Old Ship's various ministries. And at the same time, we're invited every month to contribute to our outreach offering for the month. And you can do that through the button, so to speak, on our homepage, oldshipchurch.org. This month, our outreach offering is being given to the Friends of the Homeless of the South Shore. The director of Friends of the Homeless is Reverend Herb Newell, who is here with us this morning to say a few words about their work with Friends of the Homeless. Herb, time to unmute and tell us about Friends of the Homeless. Thank you.
Hi, Ken. Thank you, folks. It's really nice to see a lot of people, and those who can't see me, you know, you're listening in on the telephone. I look wonderful. I'm Herb Newell. I'm the director of Friends of the Homeless, and I have written my comments because I wanted to keep it brief, and I found that's the only way to do that. We started sheltering here in Hingham more than 30 years ago in a house church across the streets on Rockland Street. There is a family sheltered in the church today. We have shelters in Weymouth and Norwell. We're sheltering 25 families a week, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Homelessness is a stepchild of poverty. It is a persistent and relentless evil, stalking your sons and your daughters, and more recently, your family, your friends, and your neighbors. But you don't see it, right? But believe me, it's here, and unfortunately, it's growing. Most recent pandemic-related reports cite dramatic increases in untreated mental health and especially drug and alcohol issues, historically high pandemic-related unemployment, and the early resumption of evictions that have been in moratorium but recently ended as reasons that we're expecting in the next year that homelessness will unfortunately will burgeon among families. Everyone expects very tough times ahead for the families living in the margins. The pastor asked me to speak specifically about how COVID has affected our homeless population, the families that we serve with, and I'm feeling very bad because this sounds all like a downer. It's really not all down, but there are some things that have been particularly difficult for homeless families. First and foremost, just like everyone else, they were, sometimes still are, scared. But the anxiety level of the homeless is one step above yours, because they don't have the chance to retreat into their homes and to their safety. They have to trust their lot with, like me, and with other people who are homeless. Just to bring that anxiety level down when it was for our staff and for our families, we had to establish very early on a strong cleaning regiment and hire a whole staff of people to come in and clean everything daily, and say to them in some concrete way, we care about you and we care about the fact that you can fit. We want to make you feel comfortable even in these worst of situations. Next, there is an increased concern for food and essentials. All of us brave the grocery store for these kinds of things. The homeless do that too. And they also work with the food pantries. Now, I want to start by saying the food pantries have really stepped up their game, but things changed when we couldn't go to the food pantry ourselves, and that made it harder for the homeless families. Even I don't want that to seem in any way as negative to the food pantries, but just to understand that they experience it differently when the food has to be delivered and they can't have any contact with those folks who are always so helpful. Next, there was an increase in isolation. To slow the spread of COVID-19 and to keep it out of our shelter, we had to ban all visitors on site. We had to say that we couldn't have any volunteers come and work with the children and work with the families. To say that they could not take overnights to go visit their family, and be away. We give regular overnights so that folks can be with themselves. All of that had to go. And then we had trouble we had to stop giving rides to a lot of places and say we would only give rides for medical necessity. And Uber didn't want to come to the shelter. So it's harder for them to get a ride out even to the grocery store. To get an Uber driver, it takes more time to make that happen. Distance education. Wow. Perhaps the most difficult part of dealing with COVID in this last year has been education. Many of our parents are ill-equipped to help their families. 3 or 4 children trying to do that education thing, and they've never had to do that before. And that can be very, 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 very different. I have to very early adapter of the idea of let's get our kids back to school. And I understand from the other side because I used to be a teacher, but I understand from the side of our children. And of course we have tutors, but our tutors can't tutor on site. So children, and they try the best they can. So children who are having a hard time with distance education are also having a hard time with distance tutoring. The YMCA, the libraries, these are and other places where our families get to go and experience the community outside of our community. These have all been closed down or it's been modified so that they can't go on a regular basis. These are all things that I think I have told you, all the negative things. This all has a silver lining. For 7 months, thank God, we've not had a single case of COVID in the shelter. Great vigilance, because every family going out to wherever they might go has a chance of bringing that back. And we live in community. We share so much together. The staff has had it rough. We all have our own families. we have underlying health concerns. Many of us were and are scared. Some staff had to resign for health reasons. We had to go to what they call skeleton staffing. That means one person on at a time, when we usually will have 2 or 3 people, and that meant the staff had to work a lot harder. But let me tell you, I have never been more proud of our staff, of what they have been able to do at a distance that we always wanted. I used to tell the staff member, your job is not here in the office. Your job is out there with families. Get out there on the grounds, be with the families. And we had to say that, no, that's not the way it's going to happen now. You have to keep them safe and you have to keep yourself safe. But they have risen to the task. They have done everything that we've asked of them and more. And so we are blessed. And if I had to say the one thing that I was most thankful for this year, it is for the people who have come to be with us and work with us in this, in this endeavor of helping homeless families to find a way home. Our guests have cooperated wonderfully. I can't tell you the times that they would come up to me and say, we're really glad. We're not glad that we can't go out this week, but we're really glad that we feel like everyone here cares about us and wants to keep us safe. And that's what I'm hearing overall. We have placed as many families into permanent housing this year as last, and we thought that that would just end. We thought landlords would not want to see our families this year. And what we found is that landlords want to see our families. They want to help. They will go out of their way to give us the help that we need to get our families out of shelter into their own housing. And so we have actually served more families because of the turnover this year than we served last year. Finally, I think that we're well prepared for the next few months. We've lived it, you've lived it, and we're coming around that corner and we're planning on hitting the ground running when COVID is ended. And that's where we're at. We are thankful. I am thankful for all of those who have stepped in to help in times of difficulty.
Thank you, Herb, and everyone at Friends of the Homeless. More important work than ever. And though we're unable this year, as we all know, to host a holiday party, which we love, what that means is that all of our collection today will go directly to your work and not to fund the party and to your work. So I encourage everyone's generosity, not only this month, but whenever you're able to support the good work. Thanks so much, Herb. Our offertory anthem will now be shared by Christopher as we continue to make our gifts if we can, or to plan to make our gifts later on. Christopher.
Quando al pobre nada tiene y aún parte, quando alguien plaza ser y agua nos da, cuando el débil a su hermano fortalece, va Dios mismo en nuestro mismo caminar, va Dios mismo nuestro mismo caminar. When the poor ones who have nothing still are giving, when the thirsty pass the cup water to share, when the wounded offer others strength and healing, We see God here by our side, walking our way. We see God here by our side, walking our way.
Thank you, Christopher, and thank you all for your generosity to our congregations, ongoing ministries, and to the ministry of South Shore Friends of the Homeless. If you recognize what I'm playing, you can sing at home. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. You walk right in, it's around the back, just a half a mile from the railroad tracks. You can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Well, I think some of you know that. So I play Alice's Restaurant every Thanksgiving for myself and with our family. I sing, and often, in fact, more often than not, our family sings along, as you were just singing along, some of you. And here's the thing. We sing, whether it's been a wonderful year or whether it's been a really rough year. We sing whether perhaps it's just been a mixed year, like most years. We sing whether fresh grief weighs on our hearts and in our lives, or whether everything seems to be going just beautifully for everyone in our family. We sing. We'll sing again this year, not only Alice's Restaurant, we know some of the more traditional songs and hymns as well, though that's become tradition in our family, maybe in some of yours too. We will sing. As for this song, of course, you can't get anything you want at Alice's Restaurant or anywhere else. I could quote the Rolling Stones here, or you could quote them for yourself. You can't always get what you want. We can't make COVID disappear magically. We can't end climate change with a wave of the hand or a song. We can't bring a loved one back to the table from which they are forever gone, except in spirit. But you can get love by, of course, giving love. We know that. You don't even have to go to Alice's Restaurant or anywhere other than your own home, or if you're fortunate enough to have a home, or in a place of shelter with loving people, or on a Zoom screen. So my theme today is gratitude always. So I wonder, is it gratitude that helps us, enables us to sing no matter what, or almost no matter what? I think maybe so, because practicing gratitude leads us to notice the gifts around us, the practice of gratitude. As we were doing earlier, those of you who are writing in the chat, things for which you're grateful, or the children earlier this morning, noticing the gifts in our lives. That's where gratitude comes from, no matter what, including above all, of course, the gift of love in the midst of everything, and actually most especially often in the midst of hardship or difficult times, struggle, sorrow. A story is told, I don't know if it's made up or truly happened, it could have happened. I've shared it with you before. It was a hot and humid Thanksgiving. It means not New England, and it doesn't mean this year anywhere, because the family was preparing to welcome a large gathering of family and friends. Hot day, humid, and so on. So as they sat down to dinner, finally around the table, the exhausted mother asked her young son, Sidney, to say grace, as she didn't have the energy for it. But Sidney said, "What do I say?" And his mom said, "Well, just say what you've heard me say." So everybody bowed their heads, and Sidney spoke. "Oh Lord, why did I invite all these people here on such a hot, sweltering day?" Well, we all have our moments. Of course, how much better if Sidney and or his mother, everyone around the table for that matter, had stayed with the simple words of the Christian mystic Meister Eckhart centuries ago, who said that if the only prayer you ever said was "thank you," it would be enough. Thank you. It would be enough. Maybe it sounds easy. It should be easy in easy or good times. But how easy is it in hard times? Thank you if you've just lost your job or you find yourself homeless, as Herb was describing earlier. Thank you as you face illness or loss or any of the many challenges and hard times that can befall us as human beings. Thank you if a dear one of ours faces illness or someone we know and love has died. Thank you. Thank you in the midst of COVID and post-election chaos. Thank you. Yet paradoxically, gratitude, you've all experienced this, gratitude often is one of our responses in the midst of hard times and challenge. Not too hard times or suffering or sorrow, but in the midst of all that. It's maybe not always our first response, quite understandably and humanly, not our first response. For this is not, of course not, about being grateful for whatever has befallen us, whatever's going on, whatever's suffering. But the hard times, again, we've all had this experience, I expect, can remind us of those things for which we are still grateful. Remind us of what we still have. Remind us of the gifts still very much in our lives. Remind us, for example, of the support and love that we may still have through the hard times. And so remind us to give thanks. In his letter to the Thessalonians, Paul wrote that we should give thanks in all circumstances. Again, he didn't say give thanks for all circumstances as if there was some sort of hidden or higher gift or meaning in your suffering, in your challenge, whatever it is. He didn't say give thanks for all circumstance and that we should somehow be grateful for those circumstances, because some things, and he knew this, and I know it, and you know it, some things simply are rotten and unfair. No, Paul was reminding his readers, as he reminds us all these centuries, millennia later, that nurturing what we now call an attitude of gratitude is good for our spiritual well-being, our health, even in the midst, maybe especially in the midst of tough times. It's good for our souls. It's a healthy way to live, and it makes room for mercy, compassion, and love. Many years ago, we were just in our 20s. A dear friend of ours almost died after a ruptured appendix. It's a terrible experience, needless to say. During her recovery, she was home as we sat sharing a cup of soup. She talked about how her perspective had shifted, how things that she had thought were important seemed not so important, and vice versa. She was remembering and experiencing how the small things are often the most important things, like sharing a cup of soup with friends, things we often take for granted. When I fell and broke my elbow a couple of years ago, gratitude was not my first response. You probably don't want to hear what my first response was. But it wasn't long before I felt immensely grateful for the love of my dear ones and care and support. And as time went on, immensely grateful for the medical care that put my elbow back together and the physical therapy that gave me pretty much full function. Gratitude. On a much larger scale, as most of you remember, it was November 22nd, this very day, but 57 years ago that President Kennedy was assassinated. Surely something that we were not and would never be grateful for. Unspeakable tragedy. Our first response was not gratitude, but we discovered with time that we could be very grateful indeed for the continuity of our democratic institutions, for the resilience of our republic, Personally, I was grateful at the time, and in retrospect, still grateful for the love of our parents as they held us through that terrible weekend and in the days following. This year, we're in the midst of turmoil following the election and national division, with a president who is sowing that turmoil and division with unfounded charges of election fraud, not a shred of evidence. It goes on. Yet we can be grateful, I surely am, for election officials and judges who are loyal and dedicated to our Constitution and to the health of our democratic small d principles. So personally, again, I find my day improved if I remember to do as we were invited to do earlier, if I remember to just write 1 or 2 or 3 things down in my journal first thing in the morning for which I'm grateful. It improves my whole day, nurturing this gratitude in my heart. There's no need, I'm not writing those things down in order to deny whatever's worrying me, whatever burdens I might feel I've got. There will be time to address those, but nourishing my grateful heart helps me to address whatever else. It improves a good day and it improves a not so good day. If I remind myself of that for which I am grateful in the midst of whatever, echoing Brother David Steindl-Rast, as Roy Harris shared earlier, it really might be as simple as that, the spiritual life. And our deepest, most all-embracing thank you, the poet Maya Angelou put it this way. She said, "Thank you, Lord, for life and all that's in it." If you need to translate Lord, you can do that. God, Brahman, spirit of life and love, the ineffable, unnameable, creative and sustaining force, mystery. Excuse me. Finally, note this. With each thank you, whether it's the inward thank you or thank you to someone else for something they've done or for who they are, with each thank you, the heart opens a little bit, doesn't it? Or more than a little bit. Think of something right now for which you're grateful. And then kind of open your heart, soften your heart. It does for me. And it seems to me that in the opening of the heart, we're more likely to experience once again more fully that we're not alone. We're not alone. Even if we are physically alone, we are connected to one another. And that sense of belonging helps us be more resilient because we live and work within a fabric of being, of sustaining care and love, mercy and compassion. And then our thanks so naturally turns to giving. In a circle of giving and receiving, within which it becomes sometimes impossible to tell who's giving and who's receiving in this nourishing circle of life. Well, I hardly have to tell you that this Thanksgiving Day will be a different Thanksgiving Day than any in our lifetimes. So no large gatherings except maybe on Zoom, as we're doing this morning. And it might indeed be lonely for others. And we extend our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers to all of those, including whomever among you might be feeling the loneliness. Perhaps then all the more important for all of us to take note of those things in these shared hard times for which we can still be grateful, knowing that in giving thanks to one another, to the sources of our life, we will be nourishing this Thanksgiving, nourishing more than our bodies, nourishing our spirits. We'll be nourishing grateful hearts that will more naturally overflow into blessing and service to others. The circle never broken. I wish you all, each and all your dear ones, many blessings this Thanksgiving season and always. Blessed be. Amen. So may it always be. We extinguish the flames, but not the love with which they were lit. We take that love, we take that light with us wherever we go. May we share the love and share the light. We're going to sing again another Thanksgiving hymn, Come Ye Thankful People. If you have a hymn book, it's number 68. Or you can mouth the words, mouth any words, pretend you're singing, join in, just hum. It's good to sing together, even on screens. Come ye thankful people.
Come, ye thankful people, come, raise a song of harvest home. Fruit and crops are gathered in, safe before the storms begin. God our Maker will provide for our needs to be supplied. Come to God's own temple, come, raise a song of harvest home. All the world is but a field, given for a fruitful yield. Wheat and tares together sown, if for joy the sorrows grown. First the blade and then the ear, then the full corn shall appear. God of harvest, grant that we wholesome grain of pure may be.
A benediction and then choral benediction from Rich Jensen. God of harvest, we wholesome grain and pure may be. Aware of the blessings of our lives, may we turn and make of our lives a blessing to others, a blessing to life. Blessings to you all. Amen. Rich.
May you run and not be weary. May your heart be filled with song. May love of God continue to give you hope and bring you strong. May you run and not be weary. May your life be filled with joy, and may the road you travel always lead you home.
Thank you. May you run and not be weary. Thank you, Rich. And now for a postlude, Wayfaring Stranger, Christopher.